On July 1st, 2026, the most powerful AI ever sold to the public came back from the dead. 19 days earlier, the United States government had ordered it off the internet. Back then, nobody outside a few rooms in Washington could tell you exactly why. While I was watching the front door, refreshing feeds, waiting for the flagship to walk back in, the real story slipped in through a side entrance. 24 hours before Fable 5 came back online, something else launched. Almost nobody covered it, and I've come to believe it matters more than the comeback everyone was waiting for. Here's how much the world was waiting, by the way. Someone built a website, isfable5back.com, that existed to answer a single question with a single word. No. 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 Every day. For 19 days. This is the story of the day it finally said yes, and why, by the time it did, it might have been answering the wrong question. First, the mystery itself. When a government yanks the most capable AI on Earth offline 3 days after launch, your imagination goes to dark places. Mine did. I assumed, and half the internet assumed with me, that the model must have demonstrated some unprecedented capability behind closed doors, a superweapon moment, something no other machine could do. That's wrong, and the truth is stranger precisely because it's smaller. In mid-June, security researchers at Amazon reported a jailbreak, a prompting technique that slipped past Fable 5's guardrails. Under it, the model flagged software vulnerabilities, and in at least one case, wrote code demonstrating how a flaw could be abused. That report went up the chain to the White House, and on June 12th, the Commerce Department issued something called an is-informed letter under the Export Control Reform Act. The order barred foreign nationals from using the model, which created an absurd operational problem. Anthropic had no reliable way to verify the citizenship of every user in real time, so they couldn't turn it off for foreign nationals only. They turned it off for everyone, the entire planet, including their own non-citizen employees. But here's the detail that reframed the whole saga for me. Anthropic's response, in writing, the same requests work on weaker models, Claude Opus 4.8, OpenAI's GPT 5.5, Kimi K2.7. The technique that triggered a federal export control on one model worked on models that stayed online the entire time. The flaw that shut down the most powerful AI on Earth was never unique to the most powerful AI on Earth. File that away. It's going to matter in about 6 minutes. So how do you unban a frontier model? I expected months of retraining, a new version number, Fable 5.1, rebuilt from the weights up. Also wrong. The fix, the thing that satisfied a federal review, was one new classifier. A single safety filter, trained to recognize that exact technique, sitting in front of the model like a tripwire. Anthropic says it now catches the technique in more than 99% of attempts. And when it fires, something genuinely interesting happens. Your request doesn't just die. It gets handed off, automatically, mid-conversation, to Claude Opus 4.8, the second most capable model in the lineup, and you're told about the swap. The strongest mind steps back. The understudy steps in. The politics moved just as surgically. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick signed the reversal on June 30th, after roughly a 2-week review. The negotiation, as reported, wasn't even led by Anthropic's CEO. Co-founder Tom Brown worked Washington, while Dario Amodei stayed out of the room. On June 26th, as a preview, Mythos 5, the restricted sibling, was switched back on for about 100 American companies and federal agencies defending critical infrastructure. Then, June 30th, controls lifted. July 1st, Fable 5 live again everywhere. Claude.ai, the API, Claude Code, Claude Cowork. 19 days, door to door. But tripwires have a price, and you can probably guess it. A filter tuned to catch one attack also catches innocence, legitimate security research, ordinary debugging that merely resembles it. Some users, on day one, said the restored Fable felt worse, more hesitant, quicker to flinch. The most powerful AI in the world came back wearing a governor. Hold that thought too. Capability traded for permission, because that trade is the shape of everything that follows. Let's be precise about what this machine is, because without the spec sheet, the next chapter won't land the way it should. Fable 5 sits in a tier Anthropic calls Mythos class, a level above their Opus line, which was itself the industry's benchmark king. It reads 1 million tokens of context in a single request. That's the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy plus The Hobbit in one prompt, with room left over. It writes up to 128,000 tokens in one response, a decent-length novella in a single breath. It thinks before every single answer. You cannot turn the thinking off. And the part I keep turning over, you are never shown the raw chain of thought. You get a summary. The actual reasoning stays sealed inside the machine, by design. On the benchmark that matters most to the people who pay for it, SWIbench Pro, real, messy software engineering work, it scored 80.3% at launch. The model most of the world used through June, Opus 4.8, 69.2. OpenAI's best at the time, 59. Google's 54. That's not a lead, that's a weight class. One engineer described it, as reported, as the first model that felt methodical. It measured, logged, and verified before declaring victory, like a person who's done this before. And it charges like the specialist it is. $10 per million tokens in, 50 per million out. Frontier capability at frontier prices. That's what came back on July 1st. Which brings me to June 30th, the day before. The launch everyone scrolled past. June 30th was a strange day inside Anthropic. That morning, the export control lifted. The flagship was coming home. And that same day, with the world's attention pointed at the comeback, they shipped an entirely different model. Claude Sonnet 5, the mid-tier, the cheap one. I almost didn't read the announcement. I assumed, third wrong assumption if you're counting, that a mid-tier release on comeback day was counter-programming, filler. Then I opened the benchmark table, and 3 numbers rearranged how I think about this entire industry. Number 1, SWIbench Pro. Sonnet 5 scores 63.2%. Below Opus 4.8's 69.2, sure, it's the budget model, that's expected. But look sideways. 63.2 beats the 59 that OpenAI's Frontier Best was posting 3 weeks earlier. Let me say that again. The cheap tier now outscores what was, in early June, the best model OpenAI had. 3 weeks. Number 2, Terminal Bench. Agents autonomously operating a computer terminal, the skill every AI agent product depends on. Sonnet 5, 80.4. Opus 4.8, 74.6. The $2 model beats the flagship tier. Not approaches, beats. Number 3, GDP Val, an ELO rating for real-world knowledge work, the economically valuable kind. Sonnet 5, 1618. Opus 4.8, 1615. A 3-point edge, statistically a coin flip. But it's a coin flip against a model that costs more than double, from a machine priced at $2 per million tokens in, 10 out through August. Against Fable 5, that's 1/5 the price. And unlike Fable, it isn't rationed. Sonnet 5 became the default model for every free user on Claude.ai on day 1, planet-wide. The people wiring it into products noticed immediately. A Zapier engineer, as reported, tasks that used to stall halfway now just run. For day-to-day automation, a no-brainer. And the co-founder of Lovable, as reported, praised the opposite virtue. A model that knows when to say no matters as much as one that knows how to build. Fewer hallucinations than its predecessor. Less flattery. Ships with lighter cyber safeguards, because, in Anthropic's own assessment, it isn't capable enough in that domain to need the heavy ones. Remember the governor bolted onto Fable? Sonnet 5 doesn't need one. Now hold the two halves of June 30th side by side, because this is what the whole story has been building to. In one hand, a federal export control, 19 days of global containment, a classifier bolted onto the flagship, a 2-week review to decide whether the most powerful AI on Earth was safe to hand back, a process so uncertain that professional forecasters put the median return date at July 22nd, with real odds it dragged into 2027. It came back 3 weeks ahead of the median guess. In the other hand, a model one tier down, a fraction of the price, launched the same day with no review, no export letter, no headlines, that beats the Opus tier at terminal work, edges it at knowledge work, outscores last month's OpenAI frontier at software engineering, and is handed to every free user on Earth by default. The government contained a model. It did not contain capability, because capability doesn't live inside a model. It lives on a trajectory, and the trajectory kept moving while the paperwork was pending. Remember the flaw itself. The jailbreak worked on other models the whole time. The dangerous thing was never exclusive to the thing that got banned. You can export control a model. You cannot export control a price curve. Even the market shrugged. Anthropic had confidentially filed for its IPO on June 1st at a $965 billion valuation. Analysts' median forecast for its first-day market cap now sits around $1.1 trillion. Through the ban, barely a flicker. The most dramatic government intervention in the history of commercial AI moved the long-term needle almost nowhere. So what does this mean if you're not Anthropic? If you're one of the thousands of companies that quietly wired these models into production? It means the 19 days were a fire drill, and the lesson is not it's back. During the blackout, enterprises in finance, healthcare, and software discovered something uncomfortable. Spreading workloads across AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure protects you from a data center failure. It protects you from nothing when the model itself is what gets switched off. All three clouds went dark simultaneously, because the single point of failure was never the infrastructure, it was the mind running on it. One analyst, as reported, put it in a sentence I haven't been able to shake. Frontier access has become conditional infrastructure. Restored access is not restored certainty. Build for the detour, because the road now runs through policy. And look at what the entire industry shipped this summer. OpenAI's GPT 5.6, Google's Gemini 3.5 Flash, Sonnet 5. The race quietly changed lanes. It's no longer only about the smartest possible machine. It's about how cheap and how reliable intelligence can get with nobody watching over it. The frontier still matters. Fable 5 is still, by the numbers, the strongest thing you can rent. But strength that can vanish by government letter is a different asset class from strength that's too cheap and too widespread to ever switch off. One of those is a skyscraper. The other is the water table. What did they see that we still weren't allowed to? Now we know. A jailbreak. Some flagged vulnerabilities. One proof of concept exploit. Produced by a technique that also worked on the models nobody banned. The classified secret turned out to be ordinary. And the ordinary press release, the one nobody read on comeback day, turned out to be the real story. isfable5back.com says yes now. 19 days of no, and then finally, yes. But standing on the other side of it, I don't think that was ever the right question. The question the industry answered while we were all refreshing that page is bigger. When intelligence this capable costs this little and ships to everyone by default, is the most powerful AI in the world still the thing that matters? The flagship came back. The water kept rising.